(6:45). This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Soundhi Thavam. The CCPI-based inflation further drops to 57.2%. An advance cash payment of 4,000 rupees announced for government employees. The Consumer Affairs Authority, CAA, requests the general public to report any incident relating to any vendor selling essential goods at a higher price than the government-controlled price. The processing of 10,360 applications seeking financial assistance complete. Minister Nalin Fernando says Sathosa's frequent price slashes not for personal gains. The President's Fund provides relief aid to economically affected students sitting for the advanced level exams. No power cuts scheduled for this weekend. The 2-day dengue prevention program continues today as well. In news overseas, Belarus says it downed Ukraine air defense missile. And in sports, Lionel Messi's room in the Qatar University to be transformed into museum. The year-on-year inflation based on the Colombo Consumer Price Index, CCPI, decreased to 57.2% in December, the Department of Census and Statistics reported. Accordingly, in comparison to the 61% seen in November, the year-on-year was down by 3.8% in December. Meanwhile, food inflation also decreased to 64.4% in December from the 73.7% recorded last month. The President's Fund provides relief aid to economically affected students sitting for the advanced level exams. Accordingly, 3,000 students are being provided a monthly bursary of 5,000 rupees for 2 years. This will be implemented for the students who will be sitting for the GC advanced level exam in 2024. The process of selecting the suitable students for this scholarship program is in progress. The deadline for the application closed yesterday. SMS messages will be sent to those families affected economically in order to avoid unnecessary transport and other expenses. The Health Ministry commenced yesterday a 2-day dengue prevention program. The program will continue today as well. The program was initiated with the sole purpose of controlling the dengue menace, which is becoming a threat to society. The 2-day eradication program will identify and destroy mosquito breeding places. 75,434 dengue patients have been identified in the country so far this year. The government has announced an advance cash payment of a maximum of 4,000 rupees for all public sector employees. This allowance will be provided between January 1st, 2023 and February 28th, 2023. It is expected to be recovered by the end of 2023. This was announced via a circular issued by the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Administration. Many prominent political parties, including the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna, UNP and the SLFP, have organised religious programs to invoke blessings for the party and the people in the new year. The series of religious observances are being organised today and tomorrow. Accordingly, main Buddhist religious event is being organised at the Abhay Rama Vihara. The UNP has organised a series of Pinkam programs at the historical Somavati Vihara premises today and tomorrow. An almsgiving presentation and milk presentation also will be organised at these venues. Meanwhile, the SLFP has organised a religious program at the Ruhunu Kataragama Devalaya. The English letters indicating the province on vehicle number plates will be removed when registering a new vehicle and transferring the ownership of a vehicle. This will come into effect from January 1st, 2023. The Commissioner General of Motor Traffic, Nishantha Anuradha Veerasinghe, said, addressing a media briefing yesterday. The letters to identify provinces are added to the number plates when registering vehicles to minimize the inconveniences at vehicular emission tests and annual revenue license issuance. However, both customers as well as the Motor Traffic Department have encountered many difficulties since the number plates have to be changed at each instance. The right of the ownership of the vehicles are transferred between provinces. Meanwhile, speaking on the demerit point system to be introduced for drivers, Mr. Veerasinghe stated that this initiative is expected to be implemented in the first quarter of 2023. Accordingly, the proposed demerit point system will be forwarded to the Cabinet of Ministers for its approval after it is published in the Government Gazette in the first week of January. The relevant points of the demerit points system will be deducted over traffic offences, and if 24 such points are deducted, the driving licence of the concerned driver will be suspended for a period of 1 year. Following the end of the suspension period, the drivers will have to go through the procedure from the beginning to obtain the driving licence once again, he said further, adding that this is intended to reduce the number of lives claimed in motor accidents. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Minister of Trade, Commerce and Food Security, Nalin Fernando, has commented on the frequent reduction in prices by Lanka Satosa observed recently. Minister Fernando assured that the frequent reduction of prices of certain staple commodities was not imposed for any personal benefits of sorts, adding that there lies the potential for the prices of several goods to reduce vastly by next year. Explaining the reasoning behind the weekly reductions, the minister stated that pricing is decided upon based on the stocks received by Satosa. The Consumer Affairs Authority, CAA, requests the general public to report any incident relating to any vendor selling essential goods at a higher price than the government-controlled price. The chairman of the CAA, Shanta Kiriella, said a hotline number 1977 is available for this purpose. This works 24 hours in all 3 languages. It is reported that some errant traders are selling goods at higher prices during this festive season. The consumers and the general public are requested to report and make complaints of similar incidents to the above-mentioned number, that's 1977. Legal action will be taken against errant traders. The Ceylon Electricity Board said that the generator at the Norachole power plant that was shut down for maintenance will be added to the national grid on the 6th or 7th of January 2023. The general manager of the CEB, Engineer Rohan Seniviratne, said that a coal shipment is scheduled to reach Sri Lanka next week, and thereafter the Norachole power plant will operate at full capacity. He said that thereafter the need of using fuel power plants for electricity generation will be considered. One generator at the Norachole coal power plant was shut down on the 22nd of December, citing early maintenance and resulting in the loss of 300 megawatts to the national power grid. The Ministry of Power and Energy said that a shipment of 90,000 metric tons of crude oil will reach Sri Lanka next week, enabling the continuous operations at the Sapagaskanda oil refinery. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Secretary to the President's Fund, W.A. Sarath Kumar, says the processing of 10,360 has been completed out of the 11,000 applications seeking financial assistance, and handling of the remaining applications will be implemented expeditiously. Most of the payments are already done. Close upon to 1,500 million rupees has been paid for medical assistance during the year. The President has advised to expedite the process in the next year and advised to settle the needy patients' applications on a priority basis. A team of medical consultants has been appointed to obtain recommendations regarding the grants provided over the surgical operations and medical treatment. The Secretary further said the grant amount would be increased immediately after the expert committee recommendations, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, PUCSL, has approved power cuts of 2 hours and 20 minutes for January 2nd, 2023. Accordingly, the power cuts will be imposed as follows. Groups A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V and W, 1 hour during the daytime and 1 hour 20 minutes at night. Meanwhile, the power supply will not be interrupted today, December 31st, 2022, and tomorrow, January 1st, 2023, and came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
We give you the strength to rise higher and higher.
Never step back, but always march forward.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Making headlines this morning, Belarus says it downed Ukraine air defense missile. Ian Khama, Botswana, issues arrest warrant for former president. And Vivienne Westwood tributes for the Queen of British fashion after her death. Belarus has summoned the Ukrainian ambassador, saying it shot down a Ukrainian air defense missile in Belarusian territory. It happened on Thursday during one of Russia's heaviest aerial onslaughts against Ukraine so far. Footage from Belarusian state television appeared to show missile debris in a field. A Ukrainian military spokesman said the incident was the result of air defense. A court in Botswana has issued an arrest warrant for former President Ian Khama for the possession of illegal firearms. The judge issued orders that Mr. Khama should be arrested on sight. The 69-year-old left the country last year and has been residing in neighbouring South Africa. Tributes to Dame Vivienne Westwood have poured in following the death of the undisputed Queen of British fashion. She died peacefully and surrounded by her family in London, her fashion house said in a statement. Westwood, 81, made her name with her controversial punk and new wave styles in the 1970s and went on to dress some of the biggest stars in fashion. Back to the headlines of the world news. Belarus says it downed Ukraine air defense missile. Ian Khama, Botswana, issues arrest warrant for former president. And Vivienne Westwood tributes for the Queen of British fashion after her death. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
Amidst all challenges, we will rally around you and advance.
In the face of hardships, let's stand strong together.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Development News.
The Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment recently signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with the Department of Registration of Persons to prevent illegal migration of people for overseas employment. This exercise will also prevent the using of wrong data or information for overseas travelling. Under the MOU, the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment has been given permission to access the computer system of the Department of Registration of Persons to prevent people going abroad using forged passports and identity cards prepared by changing personal data such as name, age and address. That came to you in Development News, and we look at sports news. It's soccer first. Lionel Messi will be getting a dedicated miniature museum in Qatar, as the room he stayed in will be transformed into one, the Qatar University said on Tuesday, according to El Grafico. The University of Qatar published a series of photos of the rooms where the Argentine national team stayed, and in the last post announced that room B201 used by the Argentine captain will become a museum. The University of Qatar was the haven for the Argentina squad during their entire stay in Doha, and it has not yet been revealed if the museum will operate from the same complex or be moved elsewhere in the campus. According to a Daily Mail report, the Messi-led squad decided to stay in the expansive university campus instead of a 5-star luxury hotel so that they can carry on their tradition of having beef barbecues. Beef from Argentina was flown into Qatar for exactly this very reason. There was also a chef to ensure that it was cooked just as it would be in Argentina. On December 18th, Messi ended his long wait for the World Cup title in one of the most memorable finals in history. And on to cricket news. Indian cricketer Rishabh Pant has faced severe injuries in a car accident on the Delhi-Deraram highway yesterday. Pant was travelling to his hometown of Roorkee, where his car hit a divider in Mangalore. He faced injuries to his head, back and leg, but is stable and currently hospitalised. He was taken to a local hospital soon after the accident before being referred to another hospital in Dehradun. All that came to you in sports news. We'll look at business news next.
Let us turn this difficult time that we are facing now to a positive opportunity. We must rise up as a nation in 2023. NSB will extend its fullest support for you to rise with confidence. NSB, the safest place for you.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Dialog Axiata Group, the first telecommunications service provider in the South Asian region to demonstrate 5G capabilities in 2018, announced the successful testing of Wave 5G for the first time in South Asia through its fully owned subsidiary Dialog Broadband Networks Private Limited. Dialog achieved 5G download speeds greater than 4 Gbps on standalone NSA mode using Wave, attaining significantly higher throughputs than current standards. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank.
Let us turn this difficult time that we are facing now to a positive opportunity. We must rise up as a nation in 2023. NSB will extend its fullest support for you to rise with confidence. NSB, the safest place for you.
Economic News, courtesy of...
For the 5th consecutive year, LOLC is awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first. And this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC, imagine the possibilities.
The United States Agency for International Development, USAID, coordinates with Keel Supermarkets and Hatton National Bank, HNB, on an innovative supply chain financing facility that supports micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in the food sector to access capital. Through greater access to capital, this facility reduces the supply chain disruptions that emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic and were exacerbated by the country's recent economic crisis. That's economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
Weather Report.
The Met Department says that mainly fair weather will prevail over the island. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabargama, Uva and western provinces and in the Galle and Martara districts during the morning. This weather report was published this morning at 5:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the International Weather Forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that the day's weather will be bright with occasional showers. Today's daytime temperature will be around 26 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in the Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 25 degrees Celsius and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 25 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 29. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The CCPI-based inflation further drops to 57.2%. An advance cash payment of 4,000 rupees announced for government employees. The Consumer Affairs Authority, CAA, requests the general public to report any incident relating to any vendor selling essential goods at higher price than the government-controlled price. The processing of 10,360 applications seeking financial assistance complete. Minister Nalin Fernandez says Satosa's frequent price slashes not for personal gains. The President's Fund provides relief aid to economically affected students sitting for the advanced level exams. No power cuts scheduled for this weekend. The 2-day dengue prevention program continues today as well. Belarus says it downed Ukraine air defense missile. And Lionel Messi's room in the Qatar University to be transformed into museum. That concludes this morning's news broadcast.